Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Created for This podcast. I am joined today by my lovely husband, Lucas, and we are going to talk today about something that might be more leaning toward married people, but I think if you're single, there's still value in what we are going to say and what we're going to talk about. If nothing else, it will give you something to think about when you're looking for a spouse. So, without further ado, here we go. One of the first things that I wanted to talk about was our schedule. And we have, over the last year and a half, I think, started crafting a schedule that we are finding works best for us. I know I've been doing a whole lot more in the last 6-7 months to focus on stewarding our house and really focusing on cleaning and taking care of our house. And my rhythms and routines have changed because of that. So kind of what we figured out has worked best for us is to, and I think Lucas, you spearheaded a lot of this, is to clean up stuff, like do things every day. So Lucas does the dishes every day or most days. And then Saturday morning do a big work morning, for lack of a better word. And then I have my different things that I will clean every other weekend. So whether I'm cleaning the bathrooms or whether I'm cleaning the floors or tackling other rooms of our house, that just seems to be how it works best for us. And like I said, it's taken us a while, so you kind of have to do what works for you. But that's what we've been settling on.
Yeah, we have stuff we do every night. And the stuff the kids do with us every night. So after dinner is usually when this starts. Our 3-year-old will pull the chairs away from the table. 5-year-old will get stuff off the table with me, and then he'll wipe the table down. And then our daughter will sweep the floor. Like Danielle said, I take care of the dishes. And yeah, on Saturday, we do a big, once we get up in the morning, we go right into, okay, everybody's got to get their clothes so we can do laundry, get rooms clean, and that way, on Sunday, we can do no work. We can just rest that day. We've been trying to schedule it to where we always take Sunday off. We don't do extra chores on Sunday, and which has been really nice.
Right.
I like not doing it.
Well, and it stems from, a couple months ago, we were just feeling super, super burnt out. And for the last, I don't know how many months, have been trying to do social media free on Sunday and then do more of a downtime, like actually taking off work and not working like the workaholic that I am on Sundays as well. So that's been a focus of mine. And then Lucas was like, hey, what if we get all of the work done so we can just relax and instead of feeling like we're always running and doing things.
And the other thing I would add is you have to work really hard to be intentional with that with our kids. A lot of times, if there's a free moment or they want to watch a video or whatever, you don't really want them to watch a video and you see there's a mess there. They're like, oh, hey, that actually needs to get picked up. Go do that. On Sunday, trying really hard to be like, no, we did all of our clean stuff that we were going to do. We did yesterday. We did Saturday. And we are committed to relaxing and doing so. Either we'll watch the video on Sunday or we'll come up with something creative to do with the kids, but we try to avoid piling on extra things for them to do. It's like, no, this is Sunday, this is our rest day, let's just stick to it.
And coming up on football season, I appreciate the fact that we will not be having to feel guilty about watching a football game and not having to rush home to get work done because we don't have a TV in our house. I feel like it's becoming more mainstream not to have TVs, but we don't. And so we go to my mother-in-law's or we have a babysitter come, and Lucas and I will sometimes take a date to go watch a football game or something, or basketball. Basketball's another big one.
Go Wolves.
So that is also very unique. Did we talk about schedule enough?
I think so.
Okay.
How we break up duties around the house. This was a lot of what do you enjoy to do, and this might not be the most helpful advice if you're trying to get into a rhythm. For us, it was like, we knew that there were certain things that needed to happen, like laundry, and the way that kind of broke down was it wasn't designed that way. Like dishes, I just like doing dishes. I like doing, and maybe it's because I was a dishwasher when I was a kid. I like organizing the dishwasher and having that where I can have quiet and assemble things where I need them to go. And laundry, when we first got married, actually, Danielle was doing the laundry, but she would wash everything on cold. And it drove me nuts. I'm like, no, why don't you set this other things to get washed on hot? And she's like, no, why would I do that? I just throw everything in and wash it on cold. So so that prompted me to be like, okay, I'm doing laundry from now on. And I have been doing laundry basically ever since, because I like to have different, like hot wash, cold wash, stuff like that. And that's kind of how that happened.
And I'm more of the like, hey, let's just get all the laundry done. And I've never had anything shrink of mine. He claims that I shrink his t-shirts.
They stopped shrinking once I started doing the laundry. Just saying.
Or you just bought bigger clothes. And I've also never had anything that's gotten changed colors.
So, I think, so how do you break up duties when nobody wants to do anything?
You're all screwed.
That's a hard one. I don't know, like there's only so long you can go without washing any clothes, so like something has to give, and being able to communicate that too. I think we have a question later about like how certain duties work for a wife versus a husband or whatever, working out that dynamic. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to talk about that too much yet, but like nowadays, both parents work
most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do similar. We're all desk jockeys. We're not farmers or anything like that. So the guy isn't out in the field slaving away all day. But you still see a lot of guys that don't do a lot of like housework, even though both him and the wife are working equally outside. Yet she's taking the brunt of it when they are both home. Obviously, that's not fair. So. But that's so the way that to answer the original question, the way that we divvied up the duties was we just did what came natural to us, and they've developed since then. It's not set in stone, but I normally do dishes and laundry. Danielle does things like clean the bathroom
and cook. I cook
does most of the cooking. Yep.
And the way that it kind of progressed is that. So the way that it kind of all came about was, like he said, the laundry thing was a big thing. It was not like cut and dry, like, hey, stop shrinking my shirts, I'm going to do the laundry. Like, we actually had to talk about it, and I'm pretty sure there was some anger and some hurt feelings, and I was like, that's a frustration. So when it's come to the other things that we're doing, like bathrooms and all that stuff, it would kind of just fall to me. I don't think we ever had a conversation where we sat down and were like, hey, let's divvy this up. Mm-hmm. But I'm the one that's home most of the time. I'm the one, so like that's how I got cooking. Plus, I don't enjoy it, but I don't mind it, and I find that I'm pretty good at it. So, hey, like, let's feed the kids and feed the family and make it taste good. Not that he doesn't cook well. He makes amazing mashed potatoes, which he can chalk up to working at Cracker Barrel for years. But, so that's how the cooking has come up. And then also we had to figure out what was going to work for us personally, I think is a good way to say it. Like, I am kind of a perfectionist. So with the floors, like, it doesn't cut it to just do bare minimum on the floors. And so I took that on because I knew it would bother me more to have, like, you know, not that he does a bad job, but just like a stray crumb or something. Like, I want to make sure it's done well. So that's kind of also how that's happened.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. If it's something that's super important to you, if it's something that really, really bothers you and you need it done a certain way, then you should probably do it. Because your spouse is probably not going to share the same passion that you have about the way the floors look or the way the bathroom looks. If that's something that's super important to you, just do it. It makes your life a lot easier. It might, you probably do 1,500 other different things, but if you try and put that on your spouse to do, they're not going to, and they don't do it the way you like it, which is probably most of the time. And it's just going to bother you just as much as if it was dirty. Just do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and you bring up a good point, because I think one of the biggest things that I've learned as we've done the divvying up of chores and responsibilities around the house is my perfectionist tendencies. It would drive me crazy to not have the toys separated in each individual basket. I had a basket for the train set. I had a basket for the cars. I had a basket for whatever else. And so there was that, and then there was a couple other things that I had to learn to empower Lucas to help with doing things around the house and not wipe the rug out from underneath him when he's trying to help.
Because then I would have to go in and, well, first I had to remember which basket was for which set of toys. Then I had to get the kids, all the kids, to put them in the separate baskets, and sometimes they would throw it in the one basket. I'm like, no, that's the wrong basket. Put in the, and just, it was such a mess. And then because it wasn't something that was important to me, I was just like, let's just get the toys in baskets. Who cares what basket it is? Which drove Danielle nuts. But yeah, you backed off on having that requirement, and it's made lives easier. I don't know. So how do you feel about trying not to care about that thing anymore?
I usually just go in every once in a while and rearrange them. Honestly. And now they don't get played with as much, so it's a little bit easier to keep things kind of in there. But that, I think, is a big, huge point. And I was talking to somebody whose husband was transitioning to being at home, and they were looking at him being the one that's going to be doing some cleaning and some other things. And I'm like, okay, this is huge. And I was like, if you don't hear anything else out of this conversation, empower your husband to do what needs to get done. Don't nitpick and nag and, do all the other stuff that wives have a tendency to do. Because you want to make sure that he is doing his share and you don't feel like you have to do it all. Because I know that for me, if I am so wound up tight about having it done my way, it makes him feel awful. And it also just causes so much tension in our relationship. And that's not what you want.
Funny story. When we first got married and I was doing the dishes, which again is something I like to do. I always like to do dishes, whatever. When I would get stuff out of the dishwasher and put it away, Danielle had set places for the dishes to go, and I can never remember where they went. So instead of, hey, honey, thanks for doing the dishes, it was, hey, stop putting this up here, it goes down here. And to this day, there are certain dishes that even if I do remember where it goes, I won't put them. I will put them up. I'll put them on the dish drainer. I'll put them on the counter so Danielle can put them where they need to go. I'm in such a habit now, and I have no desire to take that extra step to put it, because it was sort of squashed out during that phase. So yeah, so what you were saying earlier about when you're in that beginning phase of transition, and the way you treat that in the beginning is really important, because 8.5 years later, and I'm still not putting all of the dishes in the dishwasher away.
And I'm okay with that. Even though sometimes it's a pain in the butt for me to go through and pick them up later. Okay, now that we've beat that dead horse. What age level of maturity did we begin teaching and delegating duties to the kids? We took questions from my Facebook group and off my Instagram for these. So if you have more questions, you can always email me or Instagram me and ask me a question. We'll probably be doing more couples shows later. So age and level of maturity for teaching the kids how to help with chores and delegating, and what did that look like? And I'm going to turn this to him because he's spearheaded this whole thing, which is amazing.
So I read an article and it talked about try and incorporate your kids into chores as soon as possible. It mentioned how when kids are really little, they often ask to help, even though they're 2-3 years old, and they can't really help. So what parents normally do is like, no, thank you, no, Daddy's got this, Mommy's got this, but thank you for asking. We treat it like that. So that initial spark that they have to help with their family, we squash it, right? We wait till they're older when they're more capable, but then they're not interested in doing it anymore. So the way the question is framed, like what level of maturity do you wait for, that's very, very unimportant. Getting them, I think, as soon as they start asking to do stuff, start letting them. So like my daughter asked to help me with the dishwasher, and she was probably 3. So she can't reach to put anything away. She can't. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I got out the silverware and I made sure I took all the sharp knives out. And I was like, okay, here, put this in the silverware drawer. And she did it, and not everything got put in the correct way. And that was an opportunity for me to show her, like, no, this is how. And that's parents. You have so much going on. Right? You don't want to turn the chore into a teaching thing and make it take 5 times longer than it normally would. But that's what it takes to get your kids into doing chores, to make them feel like they're a part of the family. So that's been a big thing for us. Is as soon as Abraham, our 2-year-old, or he was 2, now he's 3, but he started helping out with chores when he was 2, not just cleaning the room, but he was 2.5, and we started teaching him how to pull chairs away from the table so that we can sweep the floor and wipe the table off and everything. And that's what he does. And I think because we incorporated them so early, we don't really get a ton of flack from our kids to do chores. They're usually really good about doing it, because in the few cases where we do get flack, we're like, no, you're a part of this family. Mommy and Daddy, we do stuff for you. This is an opportunity for you to do stuff for your family. You help take care of your family. You have a big impact on your family. That's something really important we try to teach our kids, is like, what you guys do has an impact on the rest of us. You can have a really positive impact on your family doing these types of things. So, you appreciate when Mommy and Daddy go, like, my kids understand, like, when I go to work, I make money for them, and I was there for a couple weeks. I would come home, and Amos would ask me, Dad, did you make money today? Like, yes, I went to work, I made money. Because they understand, like, that's my going to work and earning money helped, so we can go to the grocery store and get them food so they could eat and pay for the house. And they understand these concepts, and in a similar fashion, they help out with chores and everything, because that's how they contribute to taking care of the family. So the certain level of the level of maturity is so. Even if your kid's super immature, let's take that example. If your kid's super immature, then yeah, you really do want to incorporate them as quickly as possible into doing chores so that they start becoming more mature. That's how you get maturity. So, yeah, don't wait for a certain age. Certainly don't wait for a certain level of maturity. As soon as they, when they're 2 and 3 and they're asking to help do things, take those opportunities to let them do things. As frustrating and as big of a, they'll try and help clean messes, and they'll make them even bigger messes than they were. I know, we've been there, but it's so worth it now. Like, after dinner, all I have to say now is, hey guys, time to clean up. And chairs immediately start getting pulled away. Dishes move from the table to the sink. Tables get wiped off. Floors get swept. It's been really, really good.
Yeah. So, and I think involving the kids straight away teaches maturity. It helps them really, really grow. It also helps with independence. So let's take cereal messes. Like, there are days when I am feeding the baby or taking care of whatever else. They'll spill milk. It's inevitable. Like, it will happen. Pretty much on a daily basis. And so by enabling them and equipping them to clean up their messes, they know as soon as they make the mess, they need to clean it up. Whether it's with napkins, Kleenexes, paper towels,
whatever's there.
They know that they need to do it. And so we're teaching them independence. We are teaching them to be self-sufficient and to do things on their own. My kids will not be going to college without knowing how to do their laundry because they've been helping dad for the last how many ever months or years of their lives. It's important to equip your kids with the life skills that they need, and starting them early is just more beneficial to you because when my daughter's 10, she'll be doing her own laundry by herself.
That's something else. So I can quick describe that process. We do laundry on Saturday. That's our big clean day. During the week, a lot of times clothes will just get tossed down the stairs, which is fine because on Saturday, the baskets of laundry that are up here, the dirty clothes, my daughter and I will bring downstairs and we'll start sorting. The boys, their job, when my daughter and I are organizing the clothes, is to go and get all the clothes off of the stairs, gather them all up, and bring them to the laundry room. So, and then I try and take an opportunity to empower them when it's time to start the machine. I show them how to press the buttons and everything, and they get a real kick out of that. That's something else that's really important too, is not just teaching them how to do the busy work, but also teaching them, empowering them. I really like that you use that word, empowering them to, this is what makes the machine go and gets the whole process going, so the clothes get clean. And buttons are really fun to punch, I think. So letting your kids do that is really cool.
Because they'll do it anyways, so
right.
You may as well show them what happens.
Show them how to do it the right way. Yep.
Yeah, and don't stifle their desire to help and serve, and use that as, number one, a teaching experience, and number two, I don't know about you guys, but we want our kids to be servants, and we want our kids to love on other people and to be good neighbors. Like, what better ways than your house and your home, and learning to do that way. Yeah. So our next question, and I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this. What do you think of a command center?
Well, if you don't mind my asking, how do you think I think of a command center?
Well, we should define a command center first.
Let's define a command center.
Okay, so command center, in my mind, is a place where papers live, planners live, basically like schedules, layouts, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm not a big command center guy. I'm not. I've tried in the past. I mean, how many planners have you gotten for me where I'm like, and I'm like committed. It's my idea to get a planner, and I'm like, hey, this is your thing. Help me, and it never. I mean, how many times has that crashed and burned?
Like 3 or 4.
So, and I'm not a command center person. What I found helpful for me is I'm a list person, and so like the way that works. So she's very command center, right? Would you say you're big on the command center? Because you have your planner, you have you do have the calendar and everything. And it's funny because even though I'm not a command center person, I appreciate having those things up because I'll look at them occasionally and it keeps me on track. But I'll still ask questions like, "Oh, when's this?" It's just like, "Oh, that thing we've talked about 50 times."
Yeah.
Yeah, that. When is it? What is it?
Yeah.
I'm a list person. So I don't like planning 2-3 weeks out. I'll look at a day. Like when I go into work, more often than not, what I'll do is I'll open up my emails and see what I need to do. So I work in insurance. I won't go into huge details, but basically I have underwriters, I have agents that have questions or they need stuff, and I can look at my inbox and see like, oh, that's going to take me 1 minute. This is going to take me 10. And then I quickly just make a list of things I need to get done now. Usually it takes me like an hour. And then I can tack on extra things. Like I do Toastmasters at work, so I can get a speech going or whatever. But that's how I do it, is just on a daily basis I make a list. So you could probably speak more to Command Center than I can. But I know, and there's some families where they have the wall where each kid has their series of chores, whatever. And I grew up, my mom did that. It's just not something that I like to do. I'm more of like, okay, we're going to set this time for cleaning, or we're going to set this aside time to work on the yard. And then we make a list of, okay, and then I break it out to who's going to do this, who's going to get the sticks, who's going to do. I feel like it's better to wait for the day of to figure out the finer details instead of spending a lot of time beforehand to work that stuff out. But that's just how I operate. But I don't know, I probably blabbed on long enough.
Can you all imagine what vacations sound like and look like? The planner versus the non-planner.
And then, we work off each other's strengths. I will happily concede that the plan ahead works great for all kinds of stuff like that.
Yes. So I think a command center works well, depending on what kind of person you are. I have never imposed my command center, if you want to call it, on him, because it's not his thing. For me, as much as he hates it, I have a corner of the island or the countertop where I have my planner and I have my power sheets and I have papers that need to get filled out. And then I have our calendar on the wall, which has more of the family stuff on it, so that other people know what's going on. I think it works well for some people. I think it doesn't work well for other people, obviously, as you just heard. And so I think it just depends. And I think it depends on what you agree as a couple. Like, there's some things that we've talked about. There's some things that we haven't talked about. A command center's never really been one of the things that has come up. It's more of like, hey, get your papers off the countertop and the table because we need those to be functioning areas. And so that's, I give him space and then I take my little corner.
And I think both of us, there's strengths in both areas.
Oh, completely.
And you have to work together to let those strengths come up. So when she plans for us to go on these different vacations and everything, if it was up to me, it would be awful. Her planning that ahead of time makes it work way better. But if a plan falls, like something happens, like it's raining or the plan couldn't go through, I can use my strength of being able to come up with something on the fly. Be like, okay, everybody jump on your bikes. We're going to ride around town to the park and play, or we'll go to the library. I feel like my flexibility is a good counter to when stuff falls through. I can be flexible, but being able to plan that big stuff is super, super important. Our kids still talk about going to Duluth or going to Green Bay, and those things wouldn't happen if she hadn't planned those way ahead of time.
And his flexibility is rubbed off on me. I'm not as rigid as I used to be, which is a good thing, I think, because it's been really helpful in business. So, the last question is kind of an interesting one. So, it's talking about, the fact that housework shouldn't, if you're in a relationship, if you're married, whatever, it shouldn't be considered women's work, but it still seems a general default to the wife or mom. And I'm going to answer this for me first, and then I'll let him answer it. for me, I see my place as my home is what I have to steward and take care of. That being said, it's his responsibility to be my partner and to come alongside me and work and help take care of our home. Hear that? Ours. Like, this is us together. This is not a he thing, she thing, whatever. Yes, he leaves the house to go to work. Yes, I'm home for work. I work from home. My kids go to daycare, and I have the kids at home with me part-time. I think it is an unrealistic expectation for him to believe that I'm going to get all the work done every single day all by myself. I think it's unrealistic for me to believe that he's going to come home from work after working all day. We've both worked all day. And he's going to take care of everything. There are times when I know that my physical capabilities with my back injuries or with my back pain or having a kid, like nursing, is a whole different story. But there are times when I feel like I should not have to rely on him as much as I do to get things done. But it is a partnership, and it is something that should be not necessarily equal, because it's not going to be equal. And the default to the wife or mom, you kind of have to suck that up sometimes and just realize that this is your realm. This is your area to take care of. I'm not saying that you should be stuck to your house all the time, that you should be, like this is the only thing that you have to do to focus on. But if you're home, and this is where you delegate, you have your kids to help you. If you have kids. If you don't, well, the dog can only do so much. But if you're home and you have kids at home, have them help you. This is not something that you should be doing alone, okay? There are times when, yes, it's going to fall more on one person than the other person. But like I said, it's not going to ever be equal because it's just not how it is. So I think that's my point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, and especially nowadays, we're very obsessed with equality and being equal and making so when
it's not fair.
It's not fair. So then when you sit down with your significant other to divvy up whatever, you're both trying to get to this impasse of like, okay, now if we delegate it this way, then things are going to be exactly on par and equal, and that's just not how it works. Sometimes I'll come home from work, regardless if it was a hard day or not, and dinner's going and everything's good. Or I'll come home from a hard day of work, and I need to hold a crying baby and get dinner going so that she can lay down. That's just how it happens sometimes. And you have to be flexible and the other thing too, the flip side of that coin is if you are obsessed with equality and like, okay, if they're not doing their part to make this equal, then resentment comes in. Mm-hmm. And no one ever tries to intentionally be unequal, or it just
in most cases.
In most cases, like, if it was my job to do the bathroom, it probably wouldn't get done all the time, just because I have different standards. I have, but then she would feel that, okay, the bathroom is still dirty, so he's slacking, and he doesn't care. And then that whole, like, he doesn't care, it just, oh man, there's so much poison that's in the relationship after that,
yeah.
You have to talk about what's important to you and communicate that to your significant other. And then they have to bring to the table as well, right? But you have to accept the fact that there are going to be days where and to you it's going to feel like most of the time it's unequal for you. Like you're doing most of it, and your significant other might feel similarly. I think the core value, the core thing we've been talking about is like communication. Communication is huge. looking back after 8.5 years of marriage, I think how often how many preconceived notions we had about being married, about being in a relationship, about what is duties of a husband, duties of a wife. We all do this. We all make these massive assumptions, and we don't even realize it. You think when you're young, you're a very open-minded person. And this is not true. It's just so not true. I've seen that with our kids too, where and that's why we don't want them to help out with chores and everything, because we want them done a certain way, and it's really hard to let our kids get involved with that. Anyway, I'm getting super long-winded here, and I apologize. So to the original question of women's work, my big thing about that is, okay, so then what's man's work? Like what's when we don't live on farms hardly anymore. There's we live in Wisconsin, so there's a couple more farmers out here. But most of us aren't, we're not out in the fields all day. In fact, most of the time we're working at desks, we're working at computers just like our wives are. And then you come home and you're not out changing the oil in the car. You're not, things that guys used to do 30, 40 years ago, they just aren't done anymore. And a lot of times we play video games, or that just doesn't cut it. It just doesn't cut it in this day and age. You have to be like, oh, this is traditionally women's work, so sorry that you didn't get the penis and I get to sit on my butt all day. It just doesn't work. It's totally unfair. You know what I mean? The way those duties have been traditionally divvied up, it just doesn't work in 2018.
Yep.
So I don't know. So I haven't talked to a guy who was thinks it's okay to come home from work and wait for dinner to be ready and not help out at all. I don't know who those people are. I know I hear about them, so I know they exist, but I just haven't talked to them. But I'd be really interested to know, how do you justify doing that? If this is your family and everything. I understand there's this old idea of machoism that you don't do dishes and you don't do laundry because that's not a guy thing. But that, I don't know, you can still be masculine and help out your family. In fact, I think you are masculine because you help out your family. But I digress.
Valid point.
Maybe we'll need to interview a macho guy to help explain to us why he can't do the dishes.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to delve into this more later. So, well, guys, we will be back with another episode, and keep your questions coming because they're good, and it's good to talk things through. I'm Danielle Roberts, and this is Lucas Roberts, and thank you for joining us on the Created for This podcast.